All right, everybody, we are live. A Wednesday edition, the highest rated edition, week in and week out of the slate. It is damn good to have you here. I am Emerson Latzia, Jeff Ulrich in the middle. Nick Fryer is here, the bearded wonder. DK on the ones and twos, producer Eamon trying to keep us on the tracks. And Howard Sparks training today. Training. I don't know what he's training for. Maybe just trying to get some of the firsthand experience of the train wreck that is the three of us, gentlemen, every Wednesday. We got about 30 minutes, 29 minutes to go now, and we have a lot to get to. How are you doing today, Nick?
I am just splendid. I want to know where you got that new green screen, because your background, this is the first time I've ever seen you not at home with the lovely ladies, which actually is a little bit disappointing.
Trust me, bud, there's nowhere I'd rather be than with my dogs right now. No offense to you and Jeff, of course, because you're a close second. Jeff Ulrich, good evening. How are you?
Doing well, sir. Getting back into the swing of things after a little Masters hangover, but RBC starts tomorrow.
Baby.
Always nice to wake up with some golf sweats.
Yes.
And, NHL coming to a close. NFL drafts coming. It's a nice time of year. Real nice.
I know we didn't get to the NHL in the sweat this morning. We were running behind, had to get to golf. So we'll have you do that here in just a second. Rory's a little soft to withdraw, because did you see John Rahm's comments today? Like, as if we needed another reason to love John Rahm. The quote that I had out, I saw it on Twitter, retweeted it. It was like fantastic. I love it. Here it is. So he was asked why he didn't withdraw from the RBC Heritage. I made a commitment earlier in the year, and I want to honor that commitment. I put myself in the shoes of not only the spectators, but the kids. If I was one of the kids, I'd want to see the recent Masters champion play. The guy's a badass. I love this dude. He's a true man of the people, Jeff, and it's not a good look for Rory McIlroy. And I know you're not necessarily a fan of Rory's right now.
I mean, I've looked like this has been, if Rory McIlroy had closed at the Open, had grabbed a win at another major, you'd be more inclined to just be like, okay, you know what? This is Rory. This is who he is. This is going to happen. He's a little temperamental. But at this point, like, he hasn't won a major. I mean, like, there's, in my opinion, there is an attitude issue with Rory McIlroy. And it comes down to when he doesn't like the conditions, or there's something just a little bit off, whether it's the tournament or the setup, he seems to fold a little bit easier than a lot of the top golfers. And John Rahm is the perfect example. John Rahm didn't have the weather draw last week. He was in the poor end of the weather. He had to go finish his second round in the worst conditions. You know what he did? He hung tough. He said, there's a live guy in front of me who doesn't even play 4 rounds anymore. I'm going to hang around. I'm going to grind this out. I'm going to see what happens. And that's the attitude you need to win majors these days. No one's handing majors to you. You're not going up against Ricky Fowler and Phil Mickelson anymore, Rory. You're going up against like people who are just as good as you. I'm kind of done with him. Like, look, he's got all the talent in the world to win these, but like, it has been almost a decade. I think it's a bad look. I don't know what's going on. I'm not going to comment this week specifically. I'm not going to say it's soft or anything, because he hasn't made any announcement or what. It could be something, more personal, but just overall in general, the Masters was another in a long line of Rory, just like not doing what you would expect an elite player to do in his position. So,
especially a dude who's taken control, who became like the face of the PGA Tour over the past year. And you're exactly right. We don't know what it is. It could be something like super serious. Like talking with Jason Sobel yesterday in the show, he thought, hey, possibly like some mental fatigue, but he made an interesting comment, Jeff. He's like, listen, just big picture. He's like, I've kind of started to believe now the window for Rory, a guy who's going to be 34 years old next week, the window for Rory to win a green jacket is officially starting to close. Okay.
Sure
it may have been as open as it could possibly be. And now it's moving in the wrong direction, because he mentioned, hey, maybe next couple of years here, there's maybe another Rahm win in there, maybe Scheffler, all these other younger kids coming up. Like, this is not Rory's opportunity to close on the career Grand Slam. It's getting smaller.
The
happening.
thing with Rory McIlroy is, and I don't want to make
Yeah,
this
I
a
agree with
complete
you,
Rory
Nick.
McIlroy show, but he's not as obsessed. I don't even think he's obsessed as Phil. Like we saw Phil obviously win a major in his 50s. Rory's got the same kind of talent. He could literally do that. I just don't know if Rory can't even go out in a windy Masters and make the cut. I don't really see Rory playing into his late 40s necessarily. So I don't know, man. It is strange. I really thought he had kind of recommitted last year. Then he blew the Open, and now this. I don't know. It's a weird set of circumstances. Some of it's bad luck. I think a big part of it is just he has trouble mentally when little things go wrong that he hyper focuses on it. So
Yeah. Nick Fryer, before we get into RBC Heritage picks, while we're on the topic of golf, what did you enjoy from the Masters, or if you've got a comment here in this Roy situation?
Yeah,
I mean,
I do have a comment on the Roy situation. Look, I get that, like when it comes to sports, like obviously like mentality is so important in the game. Sometimes there's stuff that you kind of can't control. And I know golf pushes people more than maybe any other sport just because it's you and the ball out there and that's it. But with Rory, it just is, it's a little bit too far, I would say. And I've been out on him for a long time. Just at some point, how do you not, when you have the means to find a way to get past it, how do you not? I understand with some people, it's just not possible, but we haven't heard that's necessarily the case with Rory. So whatever's going on this week, we have no idea, but just in general, I'm out on him. I don't think he's going to get the Masters. I think it just takes too much. And then John Rahm is the opposite end of the spectrum, because as we started talking about this, I was reminded of a tweet from our coworker who's now on vacation, deciding to not work. I know Emerson doesn't like when coworkers take vacation time. Jesse had tweeted out when John Rahm,
absolute bum,
got that double bogey to start things off. And do you guys know how many people, I don't know if this has made the rounds already, do you know how many people have won the Masters after double bogeying the first hole ever?
Probably none.
I'm going to go 0.
One. Sam Snead in 1952. That is it.
Guy.
I have no idea if how many times it's happened in other major tournaments or other tournaments in general. I'd be curious to find that number. I couldn't find it very quickly. Again, didn't think of it till we were starting things off. But I mean, that's a guy that's the kind of person who, when you talk about, okay, how long can he keep this up? Maybe he can't keep this up for like, a crazy period of time, like 10 years or something, but he could sneak a couple extra wins later on in his career because he's got that mental focus and mental fortitude, I guess.
Yeah, I do know he played after the double bogey, played the remaining 17 holes at 9 under, and that was a Masters record for someone who started
wild.
They started their round with a double bogey. Absolutely incredible stuff. And Jeff, looking ahead to like this week, I mean, John Rahm, who's coming up his first green jacket, his second career major, isn't even at the top of the betting board. It's Scotty Scheffler at plus 850 for outright, and then John Rahm at plus 1,000. A lot of these it's an elevated event, because in the past, we've seen a lot of these big dogs, big names. They kind of use this week as an opportunity to kind of reset, recharge after the mental and physical wear and tear of playing Augusta National for a week. But this time, elevated event, an ass ton of money up for grabs. So how concerned are you here for a Masters hangover for these dudes in this elite looking field?
Yeah, legit ass ton. Look, I think it's less of a, I actually think you nailed it on the head with focusing on the money. In past years, people are like, it's the Heritage. Like, okay, I mean, like it's easy to check out of just a regular little tour event. It's got a rinky dink course. It's not rinky dink. It's a really nice course. It's compared to Augusta, it is much smaller and it's more technical. So, it's easy to check out, but this is an elevated event, man. Like one of these guys can, especially from the mid-tier range, they grab this. This doesn't just make their season. This makes like their next 2 seasons, like that's the kind of money that's up for grabs now. So I think there's less of that notion now. Last season we saw Jordan Spieth. He did miss the cut at the Masters, but then he bounced right back. We saw Cameron Young come in here and lead after round 1. So I'm not as concerned as for the fatigue factor as I have been necessarily in past seasons. I think you're going to see a lot of these elite players just come to play. Look, what are we talking about? They played golf. Ultimately, they played some golf in rainy conditions. Mm-hmm. It's not that big a deal. Like these guys have entourages. It's not a long trip. It's like up the road.
You're absolutely right.
It's not that big a deal. Like, so, I don't think the fatigue factor is that big a thing, but, we have seen 4 of the last 10 winners here played Augusta and missed the cut. I do think that there is a slight advantage to some players like that. I mentioned Justin Thomas this morning.
Oh
At
yeah,
the
you
top
did.
of that list for me. So I'm not too worried about the fatigue factor. I do think it makes sense to have Scheffler as the favorite. I think the
Okay.
course actually favors him too. He just won a TPC Sawgrass, another Pete Dye Classic. Rahm's power is just, everything that was good about the course and the conditions last week for Rahm probably isn't going to transpire this week. So yeah, I think it makes sense, but the fatigue factor, just play who you like. You're just guessing. You don't know who's tired unless you're there and you're like in their hotel room. You don't really know what's going on. So don't try and guess.
And I know Rahm will always have the advantage over Scheffler at like courses where his distance off the tee can give him a huge advantage, but that's not really the case at Harbor Town, Friar, where like finesse reigns supreme, which I've heard the guys this morning, like Jeff and Lynn Hochberg of RotoWire mention like Colin Morikawa's name, where you can kind of toss darts to some of these small greens. Or anyone towards the top of the board who stands out to you?
No, I didn't want to go with anybody at the top of the board, just coming off the Masters and everything like that. I did have one guy who I guess is a little bit more towards the middle as my one play, just one for this week.
Okay, that's cool. So this is the Fade Friar, which again, you've had more solid plays and solid results. Than not so much.
What was it? Did fine for us last week, and Fleetwood didn't do well, but still.
Fleetwood, I hated last week. I lost all 15 of my Masters bet. There's like a couple bucks like here and there. They're not like big. They're not ginormous chunks of change. But let me tell you what, I thought Fleetwood top 5.
Yeah,
thought it was going to happen. Didn't. Completely dropped the ball for us, Jeff Ulrich.
He did. I mean, he probably cost me $5,000 to $10,000 if he would have top 5. But anyway, that's another story.
See, I'm like, damn, I lost $5. Meanwhile, oh, you big ballers out there. But who's your guy, Friar?
Sahith Theegala at plus 6,000, plus 550 for top 10.
Performance at his first Masters, dude.
Yeah,
had that shot on 16 that was very Tiger-esque.
Yep, finished 9th, and then for top 20, he's plus 240. Obviously, his performance at the Masters is a big one. Now, again, looking at Jeff's cheat sheet over on DK Nation, the best place to start for looking at every golf tournament is Jeff's cheat sheet. 8 of the last 11 winners of the RBC Heritage have 2 top 5 finishes or better in the year of their win at Hilton Head. Now, you look at what's happened recently with Theegala. He doesn't have 2 top 5 in this year, but he does have a top 4 at the Farmers, then a top 6 at the Genesis, and of course coming off that 9th at the Masters. And then we were talking before, Emerson, about not having to be a big driver at this course. Theegala fits into that. He doesn't need to have that here, so it works out for him. And I know approach and strokes gained around the green aren't like overwhelming numbers, but they are solid. So this is a winnable course for him because at least he's in that range there. And then again, driver's not an issue at this course. So that's who I'm going with this week.
Okay, Jeff, anyone around this range here on the betting board who you would sprinkle something on?
Yeah, so Theegala does make sense to me this week. He actually finished second at Sea Island, which is takes place at the RSM Classic in the fall. It's a very similar course. It's just up from here. It's very close to Hilton Head. So if Theegala he was the top debutant last week, actually plus 550. That was one of the bets I did hit. I love him as a player. I bet him as well. So I've already invested. I'm with Friar on that. The upside with Theegala is he's going to win. He's going to win soon. No question in my mind.
Oh, Jeff, you just tweeted your cheat sheet. I see that seconds ago. Good for you.
Thank you. But yeah, in terms of here, there's no one else who I necessarily love. I mean, I get like getting back on Tommy Fleetwood, I guess is okay. He's still a really solid player. It's a pretty good course for him. He's done well here before. Not a must bet by any means. I would probably rather, go down and I definitely think it's okay to invest in guys like Sung JM, Justin Thomas again. Justin Thomas was, plus 2,200 for the Masters. Now he's at one point he was plus 3,000 this week. He's dropped down to plus 2,500, but it's still a very bettable number for Justin Thomas. He's a player who wins once or twice every season on the PGA Tour. He's gone through a bit of a rough patch, but like his approach game was picking up before Augusta. Basically had a bad 6-hole stretch. He's going to be well rested. So pretty much, we saw Jordan Spieth do the exact same thing. He had a terrible finish to his second round, and he just took the weekend off, and he came here and won this event. There's really no reason why Justin Thomas can't follow suit. it sounds too easy and too simple, but at that number, a plus 2,500, I don't know why you wouldn't sprinkle. And I do like Sung JM, has had a lot of success on these kind of more technical tracks. I just think it's a better track for him. He's got a really good short game. His putter has been actually a lot better than Justin Thomas's this year. So both those guys, that is where I would go in that range. Not too big on Finau. Again, his advantage gets discounted this week. I get why people like Cameron Young. He did do well here last season, but it was kind of just a one-round blip. Just not the kind of course I'd want Cameron Young on long-term, but it could happen. He's well overdue for a win as well. You could throw him in the Thigala pile too.
Yeah, and I'm looking at some comments here by our good friend Pat Mayo, who mentions Sung JM. By the way, that was Sobel's pick to win this week. So comes in riding some hot irons here. He's picking up strokes on the field. He did it. Sawgrass and Augusta. Perfect timing here to match his 2.9 strokes gained off the tee that he's averaged in 4 appearances at Harbor Town. So he does fit well here, Jeff.
He does. He wanted the Shriners. He wanted the Honda Classic. Honda Classic, PGA National.
It's
another tight
course,
par 70. Dude. Yeah. So, tougher par threes. It's a good comparable course. So, yeah, no, Sungjae is a good play for this week for sure. You can go down the board a little bit though. We've seen long shot winners of this event quite a bit come through. Satoshi Kodaira a few seasons back. I think a guy like Christian Bezuidenhout at 10,000 plus 10,000.
That's your guy, Ulrich.
Hey, Louis not on tour anymore.
A South African, right?
I have to pick up a South African, and Bezuidenhout is definitely making a case for it. But he, again, just not like he's not a big hitter off the tee. But his irons, and he's got a world-class short game, and he can really light it up with the putter. It's exactly the formula guys like Webb Simpson, Brad Snedeker have written here. So Bezuidenhout down there, and Adam Svensson too, another guy who missed the cut last week, but who sets up just so much better for this course than Augusta that you need to give him some respect to.
Of course, Cofield is posting pictures from, oh my God, on her Instagram story. Yeah, just going back to Fryer, you mentioning that. Absolutely
obnoxious.
She's like, it's St. Bart. I mean, she's posting it for everyone out there to see. I'm not like ruining anything. It's on her Instagram story. It's a public account, but my God, where she's saying this is unbelievable.
That's must be nice. How you're gonna put the company on your back again for another weekend?
100%. And I have no problem doing that. And I plan on doing that probably for the next 5-6 summers, because I think she and Mike are planning on having 7 or 8 kids. They're just going to keep plugging away and having fun and building a family. By then I'll have 7 or 8 dogs. But yeah,
no maternity leave for dogs though, pal. Sorry.
No,
what?
Certainly not.
Up.
But you know what? I bet that's something that I could bring up to DK, because this is such a beautiful and wonderful company to be a part of, that I bet they would start honoring that after I hit 4 or 5 dogs,
Are you going to put cats in there too?
You could try.
You bet. Yeah, maybe cats too, Fryer. Absolutely. You're people too. You're a real person too.
Thank you.
Okay. I want to get to the NBA because we got some play-in tournament. We got the second night of the play-in tournament going down. Last night was ugly basketball, Fryer. It really, really was. Yeah. Lakers almost gave it away. They're going to be a serious threat, in my opinion, to Memphis in the next round, especially with Memphis. They're missing some of their big playmakers here. But looking ahead to tonight, what do you want to do for the Raptors, who are now favored at 6? At home? They are a good home basketball team and have been all season, and they're facing the Bulls.
Yeah, and look, I said this yesterday that I like both underdogs tonight, and I will keep my focus on the Bulls here for right now. But I know Julian talked about it today too. I'm still sticking with the Bulls because look, I know I'm looking at some of the splits right now, and it looks like some of the sharp money for the spread has gone to the Raptors. However, you look over at the money line, and 41% of the bets are made for the Bulls to win straight up, 53% of the handle. So I'm playing it safe, and I'm just going to take the points, going with the Bulls right now. They have been a good road underdog this season. But again, touching on Julian today, he mentioned how the under has been crazy so far in the brief play-in history. I still like it for both of these games, more so the other one, and I'll talk about that later because there are some other numbers that line up well.
Okay.
But with Bulls Raptors, it's at with 212.5 right now. It opened up, I believe I had it written down somewhere. Was it like 216? 214, no, 214. So it's come down a little bit. If you want to pay a little bit or sacrifice a little bit of a payout, I should say, on this one to get that win and try and get that number you had before. 214 right now would be minus 135. I would say go 213.5 minus 125. So you're sacrificing a little bit of payout, but I do like the under to hit in this one. Even at the number that's listed straight up, I would go with a number.
Well, you're on something there, dude. The under 4-0 and their last 4 head-to-head meetings between these two teams. So
there you go. That too.
Yeah.
And I know, like, you see this number, it's like, well, this. I think it was the Raptors who like had like they all had like totals recently of like 220 that they were set. And it's like, well, when it drops that much from one game to another, usually there's something going on. And that screams like, okay, I either need to lead towards the under or the over, whatever the way it's slanting. And in this case, it's going towards the under. Chicago saw the under hit second most of any team this season. And then the Raptors were bottom 6 in terms of pace this season. Bulls weren't much better, and both teams over the last 10 games were bottom 10 in terms of pace as well. So I like the Bulls to cover here. I like the under on 212.5. If you want to go and sacrifice a little bit of that payout and go to 213.5, I don't blame you. And also, Fred VanVleet under 18.5 points. I've been really, for some reason, this one jumped out to me big time because Pat Beverly is on the other side right now. This is at minus 220. I know he cooked the Bulls twice earlier in the season, but then when Pat Bev came into the mix, Fred VanVleet scored like 3 points. So I'm not expecting him to go and do something like that tonight, but Fred VanVleet has not seen the over hit in the last 6 games. And the under is 6-2 in the last 8 games, where Fred VanVleet's point total dipped from the previous game's total after the under hit in that game. So last game, his total was 19.5 and the under hit. 6-2 in these settings.
Under hit in 3 of the 4 meetings for the Pelicans and the Thunder. Thunder have been, a great story here, but in the 4 meetings against New Orleans this season, they won just once, Fryer. So quickly, give me your play for the night game if you have one.
So I do like Oklahoma City to cover in this one at 5.5. That number hasn't moved a lot, but I just want to touch on the total here. 227 is where it was at last I checked. I think it's at 226. Jeff, what is it looking like right now for the total?
226.5. Yeah.
Okay. So again, if you want to go like sacrifice a little bit of payout there, I wouldn't blame you. But the under 19-11 when New Orleans was the home favorite during the regular season, under was 23-18 when in general when they were at home. Under was 6-3 in OKC's last 9 games. So I love the under in both of these. And again, like what the under is 11-3 in play-in tournament games. Obviously brief history, but still that's a pretty wild number. So I want to find a way to get the under here in both these games. If you got to go and sacrifice a little bit of payout, I don't blame you. But either way, I'm leaning the under.
Yeah, and Jeff, this playoffs are underway here in the NBA. They're about to get started. The postseason is in the NHL on the ice. Dude, how about the Bruins, guys? Like Jeff, Bruins, the most successful regular season team in NHL history, now owning both the single season wins and points record. These guys were saying yesterday, telling the media, like that was actually a goal of theirs. So they had something to play for, to really achieve these records when they knew they were on pace for it, especially it's like the regular season winds down. It's nice to have some motivation there a little bit, but now they got to back it up, man, because
it's a brand new season, right?
I mean, it really is, and they've said that as well.
It's a great accomplishment, but like it's not going to matter in 2 weeks. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter in 2 days. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it's 0-0. So, and the thing with the Bruins is, it doesn't really matter who they're going to play. It looks like it's going to be the Islanders or the Panthers because the Pittsburgh Penguins just absolutely barfed on themselves last night. I still can't believe that. That was an underrated story.
Who did they lose to? Was it the Blackhawks?
They lost to the Blackhawks as minus.
Jesus.
The Penguins were minus 600 to win that game.
Dude.
The Blackhawks to get into the playoffs too. That was to get in the playoffs. They controlled their own destiny. I think they can actually still get in, but they need the Islanders to lose tonight.
Yeah. Well,
I was going to Panthers to lose. So
and I was going to say with the Islanders just need 1 point. They need 1 point tonight against the Habs, and they're at home. This is the regular season finale. So between these 3 games, is there one that interests you from a betting perspective? Because this is a kind of a weird time of year with some of these teams eliminated, some of these teams not.
And as we just saw, like the pressure is starting to get to some of these playoff teams. Pittsburgh cracked last night. So the Islanders are minus 130 to cover the puck line. I don't love it at all. Like, I just don't like the number. I think there's a chance the Islanders cover. How I would play this game, Montreal is still a very weak team. Let's remember that too. There's no guarantee that they pull a rabbit out of the hat like Chicago did. I like playing the first period puck line. So for the Islanders to win the first period, the Islanders, this is either going to be an insanely low scoring, close game, and the Islanders may have to pull something out at the end of the game, or the Islanders are just going to come out and put up like 3 goals in the first period, and this is going to be over. So just get the plus money on the first period. It's a better number. You're going to have to invest less. You don't have to wait the whole game. You can always reinvest too. I think that makes a lot of sense tonight. Again, especially since we're getting plus 100 versus minus 130 to cover an entire game. So I kind of like playing that. So the under here is interesting. Montreal, again, the thing that worries me about playing the under in this game is that the Islanders, like if they do get off to a hot start, I mean, they can just put up 7 and just like the Canadiens are terrible defensively.
Like you would expect them to be super aggressive on offense tonight, right? In this situation,
we're either going to have a very close, low scoring game, or just this is just done by the first period. If you're going to play for that second one, I like just playing the first period puck line with the Islanders plus 100. You get good odds. And like I said, it's a lower investment, so you're not taking like really terrible, like paying a lot of juice to obviously have the Islanders cover some crazy puck line. But there's 2 other games. The Flames game is actually really interesting. They're starting a guy named Dustin Wolf, who he's basically been the MVP of the AHL league, which is like the if you're not familiar with hockey, it's the minor league system. But the Flames also
AHL right under the NHL.
There you go. But the Flames also have nothing to play for. So I don't really know what to do. Like, I think naturally, if Dustin Wolf wasn't such a stud, I would say hammer the Sharks money line. I still think the Sharks are worth a bet tonight. Dustin Wolf looks like a great prospect. He's been absolutely dominating the AHL. This is a completely different pace of play. It's a big spot. San Jose does not want to get shown up by a 21-year-old. So, San Jose at plus 205, I think is very bettable tonight. And if you're looking for, a goal prop from this as well, I think that's worthwhile. Where's my guy? Jacob Peterson, plus 250 to score a goal. Playing on the top line, playing big minutes. He's playing for a job next year. He's been basically averaging a point per game here over the last 10 games. So Peterson there from that game, I think is worth a look. And then just quickly into the last game, Dallas Stars, St. Louis Blues. I do not know why the Stars are you can get plus 155 here on the Stars. The Stars still have something to play for. They can catch Colorado, win their division. The Blues are terrible. The Stars have been rolling. I'm really shocked that you can get plus 155. And just to finish off, Jamie Benn, anytime goal scorer from this game. Love it. Anytime you get a weak power play or a weak penalty kill on the other side, and the Blues have the 4th worst penalty kill, Jamie Benn loves scoring goals on the power plays, plus 220 tonight to score an anytime goal. Really good odds there.
All right, couple minutes left in show. Fryer, 45 minutes from first pitch between the Red Sox at the undefeated, ridiculously hot and sexy Tampa Bay Rays. Gary had said on the show this morning, he's taking Red Sox money line, baby. He thinks tonight is going to be Tampa Bay's first L of the season, dude. Well, and your boy, Bobby Dahlback, Bob Stop, if anyone here is a fan of Jared Carrabis and his podcast with us at DraftKings. How you feel about that, dude?
Well, if you know anything, Bobby Dahlback and I are not best of buddies. But also, Gary said that, but I know he's not feeling too good right now because Yoshi's out now too. He was a late scratch. So
yeah, it's a bottom 5 starting lineup tonight. Yeah, it is in the league. It does not look good, but hey, you know what? Anything can happen, or anything is possible.
The scrappers, man. You need the scrappers in there. Those are the guys who are going to try hard.
This is a Sandlot, Jeff. This is Major League Baseball.
Oh yeah, it is.
Maybe the Orioles. Maybe the Orioles. The Rays have made their careers off of that, the front office. But I'm right now, as Jeff was going through his NHL stuff, I was looking at the Cardinals Rockies game that I had the over on at 11.5. Somehow Jose Urena was pitching his lights out to start the game, and the under hits on this one. Freaking 7th by 1 run. I just absolutely maddening. It's freaking Rockies. But I don't have a read on the Rays game. The one game I do have is the Orioles. I got it at 4.5 with a little less value. Right now it's actually bumped up to 5.5 on their team total. They are going up against Waldachuk, and he absolutely stinks. He's given up 6+ runs in his first two starts. And you look at what the Orioles have done against left-handed pitching to start the year. Nestor Cortez is the only guy who had success against them. 5 in the third innings, 2 runs. Everybody else has gotten smoked. I think the second best was like Sears, 3 runs in 5 innings. Not great. So I love this number against the A's, against a weak left-handed pitcher for the Orioles.
Yeah, who was it last night? Was it Ryan Mountcastle with the 9
Yeah.
ribbies? I think he tied a franchise record. Dude just kept mashing.
Yeah, got to take
okay.
advantage when they're playing against a lefty.
Gentlemen, kick-ass job today. Well done. We got Bears at Colts next coming up in Madden Simland. Monday here, though, is going to be incredible. You got the Marathon. You've got Boston. You got the Bruins opening up their Stanley Cup postseason. And then at the same time, Shohei Ohtani is expected to be on the bump for that 11 a.m. game against the Red Sox next. Should be a fun Monday here. Jeff Ulrich, nice work. Thanks, DK, Eamon, and Howie behind the scenes. And we'll see everyone back here in studio, 11 o'clock Eastern time for our Thursday edition of The Sweat. Peace.